Welcome back to Indian Trace. This is going to be a lot of fun. I have some thoughts I want to share. A hunt this morning where I really couldn't film it, which is not what you're looking at. It's moving day also, so we have a lot to discuss. You're looking at pieces that have made the cut and are going to be put into moving day. They're going to move. They're not all going to move into the display box you know me to have, which you'll learn about if you're new on Indian Trace, and if you've been here a while, you know what I'm talking about. But we're going to talk about these pieces, which are some fantastic and fun pieces right here. But a lot of them, I'm going to move out the door. I've got to make room. For example, I had a good time out this morning. It was 26 degrees. Look at these pieces right here. But thanks for tuning in to Indian Trace. I really appreciate all the shout outs and people checking out the artifacts. And you know I'm going to do my best to represent the North American Indian and share some of the quality artifacts that I find out there. Today's stuff. We're going to check that out in a second. Right up here, well, actually, we'll go ahead and we'll stick with this. I'll show you in sets. 26 degrees out there today. Oh, there's another thing, and this is just a preview. Look at this. Hopewell MJ. We had a project. It is particularly unique. And I know you're thinking about the blade and what it could be made out of. Wait till you see this. It's a different story. I think both Mike and I think it's something different than you have seen. But as usual, you can see from the elk and the workmanship of everything here, as well as the blade, which is the most fantastic part. Also holistically fantastic. Spiritually fantastic. And I'm just going to tell you this. It's not a flint point. It's not a flint blade. But we're going to check that out. So that's a preview. Anyway, that came in. That was awesome. We got a little deal going on. That back and forth from North Carolina to Utah. This is going to be fun. All right, first today. Went out there, 26 degrees. Now, granted, 48 hours ago, and take a look at these things close up. Just fine artifacts. 48, this is one's all used up, this little guy, isn't it? 48 hours ago was 85 degrees. Here in North Carolina. But I went out anyway today because I had a good opportunity to go to Hidden Alley, even though it was cold. 26 degrees. So some of you, whether you're in Iowa or upstate New York or wherever, that's normal weather for the winters, 26 degrees. But listen, here in North Carolina, it is not. And I went anyway. 8 layers. Nice pieces right here, right? I know it's going to be a little long, so I want to move it along. A couple great pieces of quartz. Missed the drill here. Don't know what kind of base they had on that drill, but it's sugar quartz. Great artifacts. I had to pick them up. They're going to be jumping somewhere, I know. Got to have a place for them. I definitely was talking to a friend on the phone the other day, and he was just calling to say thanks for the channel and for some of the artifacts I could send. Look at these C4s. Gotta pick these up. I can't just leave them out there, right? Clear artifacts. Work stone, scraper, rhyolite. 3 of the maybe top points from today. Just fun stuff. Anyway, he was just calling and he said, you know, just a real thank you for putting the channel up and sharing some artifacts. And, you know, I told him in terms of sharing artifacts, if I can get in there, he said he was going to send some postage so that he could have a good handful of these good hammerstones that I find. Look at those pieces. Nice, right? And I said, hey, no problem. But when it comes to hammerstones, I cannot afford, you know, 1-2 pounds a piece for some of the solid pieces. Or, look at this. Here's this week's, because it's moving day. And here, this is what we're going to be moving out. I mean, look at this. I want to get there already, but we're not going to. Listen, this is the way it works. I went out today. This is what the group I found. Down here, giveaway, for sure. These, they might be. They're just another step up. A little teeny crystal, Guilford. Notch point, Guilford, straight base, and some materials. And many times it transitions into my C4 artifacts. I mean, just take a look at this here on Indian Trace. Great natural lighting. This is just this week. This is C4 artifacts, and what I mean by that is they're tons. I've got thousands, hundreds out around my koi pond. Great artifacts, no doubt about them. Every bit of respect. But I've got a rock garden out there, and it grows these great artifacts. I mean, if I got some kids over, whatever, and I've said it before, they can go out there and they can hunt up what they want. I give them a bag. They can have all they want. I've had relatives come over and just send them home with a fascinating bag of artifacts that just died. Stir them up. Why not? I can't leave artifacts like these C4s out there. They are clear, and other than that, they're just going to go through the blender. Why would I want to let them, right? Anyway, that's the C4s from the week. And they've got to find a place to go. Look at this natural light in different types of rock right here. Great looking stuff. So whether it's this morning, it was so cold I didn't dare pull my phone out or get my mittens off or whatever. It was just cold, man. I had to handle it. And then we're on to moving week. Now remember, we've got a knife here we got to check out. I want to pull that out and do it already, but I sort of have an order that we're going to do. And we'll finish with Mike's gift. I mean, you got a sheath here. It's either side, and I cross draw, so it'll be on my left side. And I can tell you this ahead of time. It's what I have defined, and through research and everything, as a finishing dagger. It's not so much a blade, but it is a dagger. I'll let you know that ahead of time. And it's a finishing knife. It's a finishing dagger. So just think about the word finishing as we get a little close-up on some of this ahead of time, about what on earth it could entitle. And I think he's got a little tang from and he harvested. He harvested the elk. I know that. I don't want to get into it. Listen, there's some great artifacts. Man, I forgot about that piece. Found that at Sun Hill. That was a nice piece of quartz, as well as some of these. Mercy, right? Anyway, moving day. Let's go ahead and take these out. On moving day, for those of you who are new or tuning in, and I hope that I'm not jumping around with this too much, what I do is I have a group that have to move out. They move from a holding bin that I have, either into my display box, my display quality stuff that I just really like, touches my heart, or they move to another box that I have where I'm looking to find a good home for them. A lot of things go into that. I mean, look at this turtleback scraper. Thing of beauty. Just talking artifacts right now today. I do have a political interest comment about a really great subject that it was just profound. Educated me to no ends, and it has to do with geopolitics. It has to do with global politics and some of the history behind Russia. And I won't get into that right now. And Vladimir Putin, which when I hear his name, it's all positive because I know him well. And I can't say well, but I've researched very well his views on nationalism and how much he loves his nation. We'll leave it at that right now. Nice drill, right? Like I said, what you're looking at on moving day are pieces that are either going to relocate or I'm going to save them because of their uniqueness. And I can tell you ahead of time, this one right here, this scraper, and look at the working edge. Just worked. Can you see it? It's definitely a worked edge in terms of scraping. Probably conditioning skins. They liked circles, so they really took a piece of rock and just made it this circle. And of course, it's completely translucent. We saw that out in the field. It's a thing of beauty. The cortex. Then watch in slow motion here. Cortex on the top. Top. Cut off. Working edge. That right there is a unique scraper. And I found quite a few scrapers, but I love it when I find a unique piece that's this size. I mean, look at it in the hand. I'm going to tell you what. I love a piece when I can sense that they've used it for their livelihood. They've used it for what they direly needed. A point like this, I mean, that might be a drill to some people, might be a point. But the scrapers, they hold a special place, because they absolutely needed these things. Favorite stone turquoise there in that money clip. Here's a nice blade. Big piece. Moving day. Not going to keep that. Another big blade. Sort of a Guilford round. I found this at the garden, which is right next to the Archaic. We've been out there this year, this week, and found quite a bit of the pottery, like on the last video. Look at the relief on the back side of this. Look at that. Struck right off there. Can you see that? That's crazy, isn't it? And they made this out of a whole flake. It's all patinaed, so this is old stuff. but they were good. They just used it. It's super hard. Rhyolite is really made an impression on me. It's a very hard flint. So as we click right along, look at these top shelf pieces up here. Here's a great Marl Mountain, flaked out of rhyolite. And Rob, imagine what that looked like in dark army green. Brand new. Now it's patinaed, which is a really great quality. Look at the patina on this rhyolite, which was probably the dark brown rhyolite. Could have been the dark green. Guilford Yuma. Greatest example as you can get. Beautiful piece. Of course, that's going in my display box. I mean, come on. You just don't find Guilford Yumas like that often. And the tip is just smoking. And here's a great little notch point that's going to find another home. And this is broken, this triangle. And I found it at the garden, one of the first pieces there when I was exploring this new site next to the Archaic. And even though it's broken, it is about one of the most smoking triangles for a small piece that I've ever found with its serrations. I mean, take a look at it. I don't know if I'm getting the focus in. Gotta hold it still. Here's a good piece. One of the last pieces from Mecca before they go ahead and get the machines through there. Look at that. Look at that reduction on the taper. On the back edge here. It's just profound. It's just profound. They smooth that off in one way or another. And I've seen it before on points. Look at the original color of this flint. Good eyes. Dark black. Great piece, right? Absolutely. Here's a piece from Outer Edge. Quartz. Beautiful piece. So, I'm moving, Dad. Just wanted to show you the pieces because I got to set them up anyway to take a photo so that I can archive digitally what I'm bringing in week by week or what have you. Maybe 3 weeks will go by. Like this is really, in all literal terms, probably about 4 or 5 weeks of my top shelf stuff. 4 or 5 weeks. Because it has been fairly slow. Things are picking up. Dirt's turning, which is the reason that you see this. The reason that you see this. We get a lot of views in here today. So with all this dirt turning, I do my best to move forward and collect what I can. And that's just the way it works. And then I move on with C4s. Either find somebody who I can send them out to, or I put them around my koi pond, or we just move forward. Now, listen to this. This is a finishing dagger. It's a finishing knife. I had a vision for a dagger, an Indian dagger, and I looked them up and they existed, made out of bone for the most part, used for finishing an animal. Now here it is as we look at it, and the story goes this. And it has a lot to do with our imagination. So Mike listened well, and he made an awesome piece. Because it fits well. And I know those of you guys who make things like Ken, and like Mike, that you'll like this. The coolest thing in the world is, do you see this right here? That's a buffalo, sure as you live. This bone is buffalo. Hopewell MJ made this piece. I mean, look at this handle. I love it. And of course, we're always not sure if the conception of what we said we really wanted came out. But this finishing knife is a complete thing of beauty to me. I mean, do you see this? Are you seeing what I see? If I can get the blade in there and just show you, and hopefully the light will come in. This is an absolute thing of beauty. What you're looking at here, it's so bright, even with the natural light. I'm afraid my focus is not coming in like I want it to perfectly, so I'm going to try. Strong as you can be. Now, Mike said it was the strongest bone you can get. This is bison. Eastern bison. It is an awesome blade. And look at this. I don't know if I'm getting the focus like I really want to. There we go. And look at the blade when we get the contrast of light. I'll go slow and just show you. We got the time. Here's the story of my conception of a dagger. Not just warfare. Because of the culture and society we are, because we are violent and have been a profane culture to move in exterminating the Indian in some regards. None of us, and look at this piece, would have made choices that were too different. We would have called the North American Indians here if we wanted to settle an Indian problem that needs to be exterminated as well, if we needed the land and wanted to live here. All the politics aside, though, when you first look at a finishing dagger like this, and you think about the lifestyle that they lived, it wasn't all war. If they had to defend their family or they had a raiding party, indeed, they might have this tied onto their belt side or what have you, and definitely needed something like this. The workmanship on this is absolutely impeccable, strong, and that is not anything flimsy. This is not a museum piece. This is a real deal. I wanted it long. I don't know if we're getting a perspective of it without, and the sheath works perfect. Look at this piece. I mean to tell you, right? What I call it is an Indian finishing dagger. Why? Those of you who hunt know well. They, with their atlatls, bow and arrows, ambush hunters, say they stampeded a whole herd of buffalo off the side of a cliff. Well, they needed to go in there and, in terms of honor, look at this piece, will you? Finish the animal. Get the animal ready to harvest. So whether that hunter wounded a deer or an elk or a moose or a bear, that's even more dangerous. Or a buffalo. This is plenty long enough. Plenty sharp enough. Strong buffalo bone. It's just unbelievable, isn't it? I think you guys will get a lot out of this. To finish the job. That's why I call it a finishing dagger. I call it a finishing knife for a North American Indian or for anybody. Because that right there, the bottom line is, that will finish the job. And this right here is super hard. There's nothing weak about this. So that's just unbelievable. He did a fantastic job on the sheath always. I mean, it fits in there perfect. So that's just a good show of it. I mean, look at this. Make it disappear right in here. Look at that. So my time's moving ahead. And I'll tell you this as we look at it. And some great artifacts we saw today. Some of the stuff I found out this morning. But this is the show stealer. Is this finishing knife. Now the political interest, and I won't be long, is an awesome contrast between Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin, and even Marine Le Pen of France. Some of you who have followed it know well what I'm talking about. Look at this blade, will you? I'm going to tell you what, that'll finish the job no matter what. Make anybody proud. Those of you who are craftsmen out there, if you want something done, if you want something restored, share your idea with Mike. Strike up a deal, because we do have a deal going on. It's an awesome deal. He's going to do well on the deal, that's for sure. Because look at that piece. And you're right, Mike. That handle is absolutely perfect. It just absolutely fits into your hand. I'm going to tell you what, when you get a hold of that, you don't need to let it go. It's not coming out. And all in all, that right there is a finishing knife. My word, right? Anyway, the political interest link, follow it. It's awesome. It talks about the nation state. As we finish up taking a look at these artifacts. The nation state in a person's mind, meaning that they need to be proud of the nation they live in, proud of the morals, ethics that nation represents, hopefully. Proud of those things. And that the nation state remains to be the true foundation of happiness for people. Really is. Without the nation state, with it collapsing, with troubles all over, there's no foundation for happiness, as Trump talks about in it. And it's unbelievable the comments that confirm that Russian President Putin adds to it. Not to mention, if you follow some of Le Pen's current comments from France, which are causing them, at least the elite, fits, because the public there are rising up as nationalists. So as we finish up, of course, C4s are awesome. Things I found today, happy as can be about. You get a good dose of artifacts today. And then this, stunning, right? To give you an idea of its size, it's plenty big. I mean, all the way up from my hand, all the way down my arm. It is plenty big. Just look at this thing. That's what I wanted, though. I mean, absolutely wanted that. I think the most important thing about a household, a home, is the ability that each one of us has and embraces freedom for the ability to control our own affairs in our home. The government won't come in here and tell us how to live, what we should do as long as we're peaceful, freedom-loving, and we don't try to push off our ideas and the way other people should live. That's an incredible blade, Mike. Incredible finishing knife. In terms of nationalism, Putin, Trump, LePenn, what they want is the ability for the nation that they represent, to control its own affairs. See, people who want global government don't want that. They want a small little group of people to control everything about your life, which is a scary thought. That's not going to happen. And a lot of us rise up and say, no, that's not going to happen. Thank you for tuning in Indian Trace today. And for good reason. It's just difficult to get my mind off of this great finishing blade. An Indian finishing knife. It's a thing of beauty. Maybe they'll give me a good screenshot for it, and it'll bring in a lot of people to see it. That is a thing of beauty. And I know, Mike, you probably haven't seen it from all these angles, or you probably even have a video of how you made it. It's a thing of beauty. Now again, buffalo bone, elk that I think he harvested. Whew. It's been long enough. Really appreciate you tuning in to Indian Trace and all that right there. Well, that's Indian Trace. Be well out there.